We're officially recording. Okay, so Miss Tawny Choi. Actually, it's not Choi anymore. What's your married name?
I didn't change it.
You didn't change it. You kept it.
No.
So you are
Yeah.
still Teacher Choi. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, Miss Tawny, go ahead and tell my listeners a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name's Tawny. I currently live in Utah, but most of my teaching was abroad in Taiwan and Hong Kong. So I taught ESL. Um, I taught a huge range of students from 3 years old to sixth grade. So kind of a little bit different system, but yeah, that's me in teaching. So.
So now I know that your degree is in special education, right?
Nope, my degree is in elementary education, and
Oh,
then
okay.
my concentrations, if that makes a difference, was fine arts and Spanish. But I didn't use the Spanish at all, ever. But I did use the fine arts a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like just you living in Utah, we always used our Spanish, but
Yeah, I mean, I only subbed and student taught, so in Utah, I didn't actually ever teach here, so I didn't really use it.
yeah. But thank you for interviewing with me today.
Of course.
And there are six key elements and a couple of questions for each. So I'll just go ahead and get started.
Okay.
For the first key element, it is school improvement and accountability. So, how do you use school-wide assessment data to inform your instructional practices and contribute to overall school improvement?
I don't know. So the best example and the school I worked at the longest, um, didn't really have a big school-wide system that we kept track of stuff. And I think maybe it's just because like at the school there wasn't a lot of technology on purpose because they were wanting to be a little bit more holistic, so students didn't
Yeah.
use technology. So we didn't necessarily use technology.
Hey, I'm a
Um,
big advocate for less technology.
Yeah. But for the whole school, we had a couple of systems in place. So we had like a weekly planner that students went home with, and
Okay.
we wrote back and forth to parents about how the students were doing. And if I ever like substituted a class or taught somebody else's students and I needed to write in that like wiki planner, I could look back and see
Yeah.
what kind of stuff that they have done, or if I'm like, this person is particularly not behaving very well, let's see what they've done. That helped a lot because
Yeah.
I didn't know the classes very well. And I think the parents liked it. And I know when I was a student teacher, we had kind of the similar thing where you kind of wrote what they did during the week or during the day and got feedback to the parents right away. So I feel
Yeah.
like that's kind of awesome. I sadly didn't work at any places where they had like a whole school-wide system, so it's hard to say like how I would have used that and try to look at assessments because it was just like
Yeah.
class by class.
Yeah. But it sounds like what you were describing was there was data that you found in the planners and
Mhm.
adjusted your teaching from that. So that's absolutely data that you can
Yeah.
use for assessments. So I would agree with that. Okay. What role do teachers play in ensuring accountability and continuous improvement within the school system? So how do you make sure your kids are held accountable?
Oh, the kids. I was thinking like myself personally, but
Oh,
um
well, you can answer either way.
uh well, since that was what came to mind first, like I feel like teachers have the responsibility to just, stay up to date on new and current things because especially if you're teaching older kids, they're going to be bored and they're going to think you're, not a very good or exciting teacher if you don't know the lingo or the cool things. I taught little kids, so it didn't really matter so much the cool things, but if you're not teaching them in the style that they can learn from, um, it's hard. So I think you always have to continue to learn, and that's kind of your responsibility and accountability as a teacher to kind of stay up on what's going on and what things are new and exciting. To keep students accountable, I would say it's just about motivation for me. So I taught elementary mostly and young elementary. So my most of my classes were kindergarten and first grade. And so they're excited to be at school because when they're
Right?
little, they're excited to be away. So it's really different than the older
Everything is
kids.
fun.
Yeah. So it was just like the motivation kept them accountable. So if they were excited, if they were happy, if they were having a good time, they kind of didn't know that they were really learning on top of it.
Right.
But if they were bored or something was hard,
Yes.
then they lost their attention. So I think for me, it's just
Yes.
being motivated about it being fun and important. And I don't, you have lots of different ways that you can do
Yes.
that depending on your teaching style. So
You're like, look over here. And then you're like
yeah.
scribbling down.
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's the nice part about teaching littles.
Yeah.
Me stuck in my high school with all my grumpy grumps. If
I
I don't
mean,
do this assignment, how much will it bring my grade down? I'm like, do your assignment.
yeah, I mean, there's a, differences. I didn't teach older kids so much, but I would say like you also feel like a babysitter. You also feel like a mom.
Right?
You
Putting
also
the
get
band-aids on, the
sick a
boo-boos.
lot.
Right?
Everything's kind of a little, I mean, maybe high school, everything seems a little gross because they don't know how to do a
Because
lot
in
of
high school,
things.
they smell gross. Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's all the hormones. All right, let's look at the second element, formative and summative assessments. So how do you use this? Well, I feel like that's kind of repeat. Let's do this one. Can you share an example of how student data impacted a major change in the way that you instruct?
Hmm. Let
Like,
me
when did you pivot?
think.
Like, oh,
Yeah, I would say I can think. So in Hong Kong, I taught preschool. So they were 3 years old, and then the youngest was like 8 months. So very small. But parents or adults were required to come with them. So it was interesting because I was teaching, my main focus when I started was the kids. But in reality, I was also teaching the adults in the class. Why are you doing this with your kid? Why is it important to work on these different skills, not just in school when you're here for the day? I think some of them came one day a week, one other different schedules depending on their ages. So I when I realized that parents were asking me and I was getting feedback that they didn't know why why are we doing these things, or when I would ask them like, have you tried different things at home, and they said no, I'm like, oh. So
mm,
it was like oral data, I guess you would call
yeah,
it. It wasn't like written down or tested because the kids are too
yeah,
small to test anyway. But then I
yeah,
realized I kind of had to change and also teach to the adults in the classroom and not just because I was so used to being in a room with just kids before.
yeah,
Now suddenly I'm with kids and adults and kids that can't really talk to me at all or interact with me
yeah,
because they're so, I mean, they interact, but not the same because they're so little, that I had to also tell why and explain in more details what they're doing with their hands, what they're doing with their eyes, why should you read a book correctly and point out pictures. And so I had to change, very different from what I was used to, just
yeah.
by the data that came in from the different feedback.
That is nuts, Tawny, because I feel like the company should have been paying you double the amount because you're double teaching it like it's true.
Yeah,
It's like
it
they're
was.
paying for one student, but two people are getting an English lesson.
Yep. And who knows how much they all the adults actually understood, because sometimes it was grandparents that came,
Yeah,
sometimes it was nannies from a different country. So
yeah.
who knows how much of my English explanation that they really
You're like, I'm
understood.
gonna roll
So
with this.
yeah.
Oh, oh, dang. Okay. That's very interesting.
Mhm.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. Okay. The third element says standards-based instruction. So this is more like stateside. We have these state standards, right? Teaching theme or teaching key elements, you know? So let me see here. How do you scaffold or differentiate instruction when students are below grade level, but the standard remains constant?
Okay. The first thing that came to mind is I taught a lot of first graders, and at the school, before if they didn't start with us in kindergarten, then if they came in first grade, because they only have so many spots in the kindergarten, so not everybody who came to first grade was in our kindergarten. So they would have like a test
Okay.
for their English ability, and I was always given the lowest kids. So there were different levels and they grouped them together. And then my class always ended up being the one with the least amount of English knowledge coming in, and some of them not any at all.
Yeah.
But depending on their home life, depending on if they watch stuff in English, everybody kind of still ends up on a different level.
Yeah.
So I had to do a lot of things where I paired a lot of people together. So that was a little bit of my scaffolding. So somebody who was exceeding well would maybe get paired for partner work with somebody who needed a little help. And then that person was kind of excited to kind of teach somebody in the class most for the
Yeah.
most part. Um, I would do other things like some like big group things where I made sure that the groups were kind of mixed up as well, not just like
Yeah.
pairs. I would say that at that school, we also had a Chinese teacher in the classroom who spoke the language. I understood some, but couldn't understand a lot. So that was a nice help because for some kids who didn't understand what I was saying at all, especially at the very beginning of when class started, I could look at her and she could explain in Chinese.
Subtitles.
So yeah, it helped a little bit.
Yeah.
Or like behavior wise too, like she would help with telling kids what to do if they weren't like just standing there like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Um, and I would say it was always at the end of the year at the school, kind of like for a little bit of a like, do they know English? They had like a play and a performance that they had to do and be able to have the confidence to say lines in front of everybody's parents.
Yeah.
And um, so that was kind of like the standard and also like the fun part to like practice for some, I guess, the fun part
Yeah.
to like practice and a play and dress up and have lighting and whatever. So I guess that would kind of be like the standard. So another thing that I did, at least for the play, was make sure that if a person could say more things or speak better, they maybe had harder words to say,
Ooh,
but
yeah.
still everybody got a chance to be there and perform and have a part. So
Yeah. I love that. And I
yeah.
also think that with pairing them and grouping them with kids who had a little bit bigger vocabulary, it's
Mhm.
really low stakes for them,
Yeah.
right? Like it's intimidating to have this English teacher being like, speak English. And they're like, "Oh, I don't know what you're saying to me."
Yeah.
But if they have a partner that's like, she's saying this,
Mhm.
it makes them more comfortable. So I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of repetition,
Right.
whether they needed it or not.
And you know that they go home and they have parents that are like, practice, practice, speak, speak, speak,
Yeah.
they have tutors and yeah, so I know they're getting English every which way, especially in places like Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Okay, number four is multisensory instruction. So, how do you incorporate multisensory? I'm sure you do this a ton with the lower levels,
Mhm.
multisensory strategies into your teaching to support student learning.
Yeah, a ton. So I would say the coolest example is at the Hong Kong with the little kids. So because they were so young, we didn't have traditional subjects. Um, so we had, let me see, six different like subjects that we taught. One was the name was sensory.
Yeah,
So the room had a sink that we filled with random stuff. It had a sand pit, and then the lesson of the week was some kind of usually gross, messy
yeah,
play
but so
based
much
thing.
fun.
Yes. There was gym, so it was like exercising, and we had climbing equipment. Art, we had a play like a indoor playground, so the one subject was just the playroom. So we just sang some songs and then they went and played. They didn't do any they didn't
Yeah.
do anything else. We had music and then storytelling. So all of the things, all
All
of the
of the
subjects,
senses.
yeah,
Yeah.
they used all the senses. For music, we had instruments they could play. Um, we would play with props. They had, like the fun parachutes and all, I don't know, all sorts of really fun things. And the school was brand new. We set it up. We opened all the boxes. They pretty much would order anything that we wanted, which is very opposite
Love
from my
that.
experience in
I
student
spend
teaching.
that.
Yeah.
I will
So
fill that classroom.
yeah, anything we needed because it was new, it was like, okay, we'll get it for you. You can try it out. So that
Yeah.
was really fun. In Taiwan, where I did more closer to teaching to what's here in the US. I didn't need to, but I did a lot of art projects because it was really easy for them to learn a bunch of English and not have to sit there and just do writing and
Yeah.
homework and, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So luckily, the school also would buy a lot of the supplies, but especially for the kindergarten kids, I had to do a lot of prep
Yeah.
and cut things out and do that. But
They'll
it was
remember
worth,
you.
yeah, it was worth doing that stuff. A lot of my coworkers in Taiwan played instruments for some reason. I don't know why, but it seemed like half of the people who worked at the school played instruments, so they did a lot of like music extra stuff with the kids. So
Yeah.
it was kind of fun to later see them like singing these random songs because they're stuck in their head from whoever their teacher was. So
So many of our learners are kinesthetic.
mhm.
So sitting in a desk for 12 hours a day, like it just it's hard for them,
Yeah.
and especially if they're younger. So I think an art project is like tops that, gets them out of their seat, gets them moving, they get to create. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the older kids, if it was an art project, it usually ended up going with some kind of writing assignment, some kind of speaking
Yes.
assignment, just because they had to do a little bit
Well, it's
harder things.
multi-sensory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all the senses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Did you ever
Um,
get to like make any food or like snacks with them?
um, if I wanted to with the kindergarten, yeah, but the other kids, no.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know. I think the school didn't want to worry about somebody getting hurt or burned or
Or sick or
yeah,
allergies or yeah. Yeah.
whatever. So,
Okay. Let's move on to the fifth element. It's collaboration with colleagues. So, can you describe a time when collaborating with colleagues or stakeholders led to meaningful improvement for students?
well, I mean, pretty much every place that I worked at, everybody was collaborating together, which is fun. So, I think the best example is also in Hong Kong. So there were three of us that were English teachers, and we actually taught the same lesson, but just to different students. So we did all the prep for whatever the lesson was together, also in the different rooms. So, say we were doing the art lesson for that week, there were stations, and those stations also had to go with what we were teaching. So we got to put stuff on the wall, or there was a blackboard magnet wall that we had to change and put stuff. So we worked together a lot because we wouldn't have been able to get it done by
Mhm.
ourselves. Also, sometimes, so there were students who, I mean, not students, there were sometimes when lessons were also taught in another language. So there were three Cantonese teachers and three Mandarin teachers. So if they also taught the same lesson or the same subjects, we sometimes collaborated with them just mostly to make sure we weren't doing the same thing.
Right, yeah,
But uh,
overlap.
so they got some, made sure that stuff was different. But that was kind of fun. And then, like I said, in Taiwan, I had a co-teacher for all the classes. They stayed with the students longer. They understood the language, and they were there like when I was giving the lesson for support. No
Sorry.
worries.
Let me let her outside. I feel like the when I was teaching in language schools like you, I
Uh-huh.
collaboration was like daily, hourly. Like
Yep.
in public school, our collaboration, like we're required once a month to get together. But
Hmm.
in language school, it's totally different. It's
Yep.
like every single hour, like we met on lunch break and we're like, hey, how did this work out for you? Like, what are you going to do next? Like, it was constant. I don't know if you would agree with that, but that's how it was for me.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, for my student teaching, I when I did, I think it was second grade, I didn't really collaborate with any of the other teachers in the second grade level.
Oh, really?
When I did fifth grade, I taught because they were struggling to finish all their math stuff. My teacher was actually the supplement art teacher, so she taught art to the three or four different classes. But because they needed help and their tests were coming up, I actually taught math to all
Ah,
three of the classes.
no, math.
So, yeah, which was interesting. I mean, it seemed like it went well, but and then the one teacher was like the history person. He loved history, so we got together in his classroom and like they watched videos, which they loved, of course.
Wow.
Um,
I loved
so I
that
did
too when I was a
collaborate.
student.
Yeah, I collaborated a little bit when I was doing my student teaching, just because um, they did like, I don't know, because I was student teaching. I don't know their regular rotation, but they the random subjects that were kind of more fun and supplemental, they kind of rotated, and the other teachers came in the classroom and taught something. Mine was supposed to be art, but for some reason they needed help with math, and they asked me to do math instead of art.
I
I'm
would
like,
be like, not today, Satan. Not today. Just the word math gives me the icks.
yeah. I
Ugh.
can't even remember what I did. I just know I was like, oh, okay, well, I get
One
sure.
apple and another apple. How many apples do you have?
Yeah.
They'd be like, Miss, this is geometry. I'd be like, I don't care. Okay. All right. Okay, good. The last key element is communication with families. So, how do you build and maintain strong relationships with families to support student learning and success?
Yeah, I would say, well, I talked about the planner at the one school.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's just making sure they know what's going on at school, what they're working on. Um, Even in the language schools, we had a kind of like parent teacher conference ish kind of thing. It's very less. I felt like there was more pressure in public school in the US than there was at my language school in Taiwan to meet with the parents. Um, Also, because a lot of them didn't really speak English, so I had to have the co teacher there who then I would say a few words and then she would translate. And so it wasn't really the same. But um, I also feel like um, we had days where they could come in and watch us teach, which was interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. So we normally did like, the things that kids thought were the fun things, but also know that, learning learning stuff. So usually it was like a lesson with a game
Yeah.
or something. So that was like the same week or maybe the same day as when we met one-on-one with parents that showed up. And so that was interesting to just have parents sit in the back and watch you teach and also know that maybe a lot of them have no idea what you're saying.
Right.
Uh, for the kids in Hong Kong, because adults were with them, um, I felt that was a place that I needed to work on because, again, like I said before, I was used to the focus was the kids, the focus was them learning and making sure they're okay.
Yeah.
And I had to realize, like, oh, I should probably chat with the parents and ask them if they've tried to do any of this stuff or how things are going or if they feel like their kid's behind in something and maybe I could give them some pointers. And it's weird, but I'm a normally chatty person and I like to talk to people. But then when I'm in the classroom and it's an adult, I'm like, oh, I don't know what to say to
Like the
them.
anxiety.
Yeah,
Yes. I
it's so
totally understand.
it's so weird. So
Yeah.
that was something I struggled with, and I think would have made the classroom better if I could have chatted more and got to know their family dynamics like some of my coworkers.
It's hard. Like we lesson prep at home, we come and we teach, and then we grade. And like with all of the things that we have to do, honestly, like
Yeah,
it's
it's
hard
fun.
to add one more thing. So yeah, I totally understand. Last question is a wrap-up question. What is one piece of advice that you'd give to a new teacher entering the classroom?
Mm, I would say plan. I am a planner,
Over plan.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
Plan everything. Plan for extra time, plan for shorter time, plan for if your kids are struggling and you need to repeat something, just have all like plan A to Z.
All
Because,
bases covered.
yeah, if you go in and you wing it and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to teach this today and I can figure that out, it never works. It
Yeah.
never works well. Even as a seasoned teacher, I can't go into somebody's class that I've never met and open the book and start teaching. Like it doesn't it doesn't work for me personally that way.
Yeah.
So if I knew I was substituting somebody's class, I had to like at least look at where they were at and look what they need done and look at the lesson plan that hopefully the other teacher left. So yeah, my advice would just be make sure you have plans and plans and extra stuff and if you don't get to the extra stuff, awesome.
Yeah.
So that's my suggestion.
I would agree with that 100%. My first year teaching, I was staying up until 9, 10 o'clock at night, just planning because behavior was such an issue at the school that I was at. And if you give an inch, if you kind of hum and han, let me think, like
Yeah, what's
they'll take
next?
it and they'll
Yeah.
run. Yeah, they're like, oh, she's not ready. Woo, you know. So yeah, building an arsenal, you have to just be ready. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
This was a fabulous interview. I really appreciate your time.
Of course.
Um, it does have to be posted to YouTube for this class. So
No
as
worries.
soon as the class is over, I will take it down. I promise you.
I have
Um,
really random stuff on not Facebook, on YouTube because I also had to like record myself doing a lesson and pretending that there were kids in the audience and send it to people. So I
oh
do
yeah,
have
like the demo class. Yes, I
uh-huh.
have one of
Yep.
those too. Yeah, and I
So
think it was for a school in Taiwan.
yep.
I should probably take that down. I don't know what that is. Anyway, okay. Well, it was lovely to see you, and I really
Yeah,
appreciate
same.
it.
Of course.
And I will talk to you soon.
Okay.
All
Bye.
right. Thanks, Tony.
Of course.
Bye.